ओ मेरे भाई।
Well, hello, another episode. We tried to bring Bob to our channel a couple of times last year. He was here when we did potatoes this year. Go check those videos out. A lot of good information. In our video interview series, we try to bring friends who have knowledge that what we don't. Name of the channel is My Friend Bob, but since you've seen Bob so many times, it should be Our Friend Bob. So Bob Emberg is here.
And I'm Bob, and it's great to be here.
Here we go. So let's do this. Mosquito plant is sitting outside. Just in case there are mosquitoes, it will help
Prevent.
any mosquitoes. It's just a smell, does not kill anything. It's a citronella kind of
Exactly.
Smells. Yeah,
It's a centrodranium that has the citronella smell.
right. So remember
Scent.
that you got a free information that was not part of this interview from Bob. That's what you get from Bob.
Easy to grow in a container. Keep it where you're close. And again, just rub it a little bit, get that scent going, and it works.
Here we go. So again, welcome. We talked about to Bob last year, and we had a very generic conversation in 2 interviews. This year we will be a bit more specific. So people who might have started experimenting from you last year and gone to the 2nd grade from grade 1, they might want to know more. So the questions, I won't say they're difficult because it's not difficult for you, but they are from that 101 course to 201 course now.
A little deeper.
A little deeper. And I hope that you learn something from it. And if you do find them too deep, go back and watch our videos from last year. Bob did discuss about how to start a garden. If you have never gotten your hands dirty, how to do that. So you can watch that. But that all said, let's talk today. I have my questions in front of me. Bob, I know many of the answers to these questions because I learn from you a lot, and I'm always bothering you.
And I sold you the answer.
But for all the people who are watching us, there's a question. Recent gardening experiments that you've been doing, something you found very exciting, and it yielded, like, even after those many years, I think every year is a new experience. So anything you can share with us?
No, it's a good question. Right now, I guess most of my work is up in Pennsylvania, which is vastly different from New Jersey. The ground up there is very rocky. It's almost impossible to get a shovel in the ground. So it's a lot of above ground containers. Over the last year, the last 3 years, I've worked mostly getting the landscape settled and done to my liking. This year, we really started a lot more with vegetables, where we got a couple container gardens. We're doing stuff in pots. I got a lot of potatoes going in pots. So it's a little different. The climate's not too different. It's about 75, 80 miles away. So it's a little further north, but the temperatures and the weather is pretty much the same.
Now, when you say pots, are we saying pots, or are you saying raised gardens? Which one?
Both.
Both.
I have 2 raised gardens that are probably 10 feet by 2 feet out of steel and wood. And then I have a number of large plastic containers. And those, most of them have potatoes in. I'll probably do a couple more with some tomatoes that I still have around, but the potatoes lend themselves well. And I even find them kind of decorative. So,
when you say pots, these are not like regular buckets, 14-inch or 16 or 18-inch. Or
no, your standard bucket's like a 5-gallon container. These are at least double that size. So
okay.
A 10-gallon container works best. You can do certain tomatoes and stuff in the smaller containers, depending on the variety of tomato. I grew one called Geranium Kiss that you could grow in a container this size and still do well. So it really depends on the type of plant.
Now, my next question, how do you approach the challenge of optimizing the plant care? Because from plant to plant it's different, and then from season to season it's different. Same plant between like fall it will be different compared to summer, compared to spring. And are there any strategies which are effective? Is there one? Is there some kind of rule that you can use everywhere, or every plant is different?
Every plant and every season is different, pretty much. The only thing you do is go on past seasons, go on the history of the plot or the land, and what goes on around it. Try to judge out. In the spring, you'll find certain areas are going to stay wetter. In the winter, some areas are going to be much more open. Like up there, we're right by the Delaware, so a lot of wind comes across certain parts of the house and the garden, and you adjust for that. In the summer, there's certain areas that are going to stay a lot drier. So you get a reading for it after a few years. You get better able to judge it. And as you get into the areas themselves, the soil composition, makeup of the soil, the porosity, how the soil accepts the moisture, you really get to know the area and know what you're working with.
Every gardener's favorite subject: pests, disease. And when I'm talking about pests right now, let's not talk about bigger animals. Let's talk about bugs here and there, and then the disease they bring. Are there any unique methods that you use to protect from them while maintaining an eco-friendly?
I wouldn't say they're really unique, but I stress cleanliness is number one. You want to get anything that's diseased or weak out of there. Air circulation is very important with a lot of the plants. And just, you want to monitor. You want to look for the bugs. You'll come to know which things get on which plants. Cucumber beetle. You'll find that damage on the cucumbers, and if you can, that's one that really spreads wilt and other diseases. So that's when you want to monitor, watch the cucumbers as soon as you see them. You can use pyrethrum, some sort of botanical. 7 works good on them. Another one is 4-line plant bug. You'll see spotting on the stems. They don't do a lot of damage, but it's more disfiguring of the plant. So you want to monitor, you want to watch the plants, be aware of what insect gets on, and be aware of how to treat it.
Now, something which I've known all my life, because I came from a region where it was very common. And the last 10 or so years in North America, everybody just sings praises about it, is neem oil. Neem oil, the way I know exactly what the tree looks like. It does berries, and when I was young and dumb, which I still I am, and I'm old and dumb, you will think it's fruit and you'll just bite on it, and then it's just bitter.
Yeah, okay.
It's extremely bitter. But what was said in that culture, or by grandmas or moms, if you have malaria or something, the oil of it helps. I've heard it. Is it true or not? I do not know the answer.
Taken orally?
Orally. That's what was told.
Interesting.
In the last 10 years or so, everybody talks about neem oil in gardening. What's your thought?
I think it's been longer than 10 years. I think it's been almost 25 since neem oil has been around and been, I wouldn't say praised, but been touted as being effective. I never found it that effective. I know it's sprayed onto the leaf, and I've seen pictures where they've spelled out neem with the oil, and everything is eaten around except for that area. So it's supposedly effective. I, again, didn't have good results with it, but wouldn't be afraid to use it again. It's organic, so again, it's got a lot to go for it.
So when I say 10 years is because internet became bigger. 25 years because you sit in an environment that you would know.
Yes.
But for a home gardener, neem oil, whoever you talk to, what should I do? Neem oil. So that's why I asked. And I wanted to have your say on it. Soil.
There's other organic forms too. You could use diatomaceous earth, which is, it's a very fine powder. It's made up of diatom fossils, and it's very sharp, and it's excellent on things like slugs, some of the caterpillars, things like that. And you would sprinkle it on the plant. When it becomes wet, it becomes useless because, you know, where it's very pointed before, it just becomes all flat. So there are definitely other organic things you could use.
So that works almost the same logic, because I've seen it, and my family used to use it. Wood ash sprinkled, and it will control some of the pest. But as soon as it rained, it will just become chalky.
It loses its effectiveness.
And nothing. Yeah.
So they have to be repeated after a heavy watering or a heavy rain, definitely.
Right. pH balance. testing of soil, improving soil quality in garden? Any process or any testing you do?
I really don't test it. I will test acidity. I do have a pH tester, and we'll test that. I think it's kind of important because a lot of the organic matter you use is acidic, or at least slightly acidic, and you want to add lime or something like that to counteract it. Firm believer in using the organic matter. You want to get that. You want porosity in the soil. You want the more organics you get in there, the better microbial activity you will get. You want life in that soil, and the organic matter does that. Composting helps. Anything to increase the organic matter in the soil. You may find you also need sand or something like that to break it up, depending on the soil you're starting out with. But I think the key is the organics. And again, because of the organics, you may want to test, see if you need some lime in there to counteract the higher acidity or lower acidity.
Fertilizers. There's a debate about organic versus non-organic and what really is organic. There's a whole debate. Let's not get into that.
Okay.
And let's just, if we revolve around organic only, any techniques, because with me, I'm still learning, but with your experience, you might have developed something that, or you learn from something that adapted to that point that today you say, oh, that's a good way to do it.
My main thing with the fertilizer, I like the organics. I would do it often, but very lightly. You can always add more fertilizer. You have a less chance of burning using the organics as well. There is a place for the non-organic, your regular fertilizer, but the organic gives a slower, more sustained release. And again, the organic promotes that activity, the life in the soil. And the more life you get in the soil, the better.
So we discussed this last year also. And in the 20, 30 years, just living around here, and you live in this area longer than I have, the weathers have changed. I would not start using the climate change. Climate is and I do believe in climate change.
Okay.
Because the process is much longer, in hundreds and hundreds of years, and I'll be gone by the time we will learn the next thing.
Okay.
But I do see a weather pattern changing.
I would think so. I think, yeah.
We did touch upon it in our interview last year also. Any new techniques that you would use, like covering, starting greenhouses, whatever that could be, that would be different than what used to be 20, 30 years ago?
Not really. I think there's improvements in watering. There are some new greenhouse coverings and stuff. I think it'll give you better air movement in the greenhouses, but I can't think of anything that really would pinpoint that.
So right now, whatever change is happening, we're just hoping that our plants should be able to cope with them.
Cope with that? Yeah, you might try to find varieties that are a little hardier, will take, a little warmer weather. We're starting to get things that'll grow, used to grow down in the south. You can almost get away with things like that up here now.
So again, I made a video a few months ago. I don't know if you realize or not, we have become USDA Hardy Zone 7A.
Which I'm surprised at.
Last year when we were talking about 6A.
Yes.
So we have gone higher by 10 degrees for the coldest day of winter. It has nothing to, you can go and watch my video and Bob can explain better than what I did. It has nothing to do with summer. It does two things. One is the coldest day. So your perennials, you have to be careful what perennials you plant. That's the first thing. Second, it changes your frost line. We have gained almost a month, 15 days from the start and 15 days from the end, compared to how it used to be 10 years ago. Where are we going with that?
I'm hopefully it's cyclic, which, it should go back and forth, at least maybe not, it may not go back all the way, but not be as extreme. So but it definitely, not only perennials, but you got to keep in mind shrubs, trees. I put in the couple persimmons last year. One was only marked for 7A, and that's up in PA, which I think still would be 6A. Made it through the winter, but I was definitely concerned because of that. I would have preferred a variety with the higher zone rating, hardiness rating.
Like for me, I'm happy because it's gone higher. So everything I planted over here should survive. It would have gone the other way, then I would be in trouble.
Nervous, sure, sure.
So yeah, you're right.
Well, in the store, I always used to, or tried to always get plants that were a zone hardier. You know, I would go zone 5. I would usually try to get plants, perennials that would survive in a zone 5. So I'd be more comfortable that they would last in this zone.
Now, you've been doing it for a long time. You did not go to college to do that. We've talked about it. We had a friend a few weeks ago, gentleman who did our pond, Mike Gannon. He also did not go to school. What he's doing, he got into gardening. But you still had that hat on, going to college, doing some research. When it comes to gardening, any data or any of your own research you started doing that helped you in the way you planted over the years?
Well, I learned to look for certain varieties, really to pinpoint things that would be more acceptable in our area or grow better in our area, would have less pest problems, would have less disease problems. There are things you can look at different varieties. Some, like some tomatoes, are very resistant to bacterial wilt, things like that, where others are more susceptible.
Now, with all this knowledge which you gained over the years, how do you impart with others with your innovative practices? Do you have fellow gardeners? You have communities? Like, what do you do?
Well, it was much easier when I had the store open because people would come in, we could talk over any problems they have. I'm still fairly active in the area. I'm on the Union County Board of Ag. We meet monthly. There's people from the Department of Ag. There's people from New Jersey Farm Bureau. There's local growers, local garden center people, you know, groups like that. Their cooperative extension, Rutgers Cooperative Extension, has people there, future farmers, and we all get together and try to share some ideas. I'm also supervisor for the Somerset Union County Soil Conservation District, and that gives an opportunity to see some of the different forms of agriculture, horticulture that out there. You know, we're starting to deal with more urban agriculture, sort of ground swelling for pollinator gardens, things like that.
How do you then stay informed? One thing is by experimentation, but experimentation is a longer process.
Sure.
Reading or using somebody else's experimentation, somebody else's knowledge helps sometimes. What's your technique?
I still have a pretty good library of reference material. I keep up with the seed catalogs that come out, checking out the new varieties. Again, the qualities that I look for in those. I do get a couple trade magazines, and you know, thank goodness for the internet, because you know, there's tons of material there. You just have to look for it. Cooperative Extension has a ton of material. YouTube, you can pretty much find anything to do, you know. So there's a wealth of information out there, and it just takes a little looking.
So years have gone by, you're still very dedicated. You're still very enthusiastic about your gardening. Why?
Well, now, stepping back, it seems to be more, I can enjoy my own garden a little bit more, my own farming still a little bit more, rather than dwell on growing things for the greenhouse, things like that. So it's become a little bit more enjoyable that way. The passion's there. It may have changed a little bit. I'm very passionate about when I used to deal with the public. I still love seeing kids get involved with gardening. You know, the passion's there. It may change a little bit, but it's still there and easily incited.
Again, something which is becoming big in, again, because of the internet age and YouTube and blogs and stuff like that, the whole concept of soil management. Most people, even when I started, you go to a store, you look at the prices, you look at different bags, and you would buy soil. What I'm realizing, many backyard gardeners have started amending their own soils.
Sure. Okay.
And improving on it. And I know you have done the same over the years. Any new techniques that you use today?
No, I still go with the old tried and true. Compost, get that organic matter in there. See if you do need to increase any nutrients in there using, a manure, things like that. Keep the porosity in there if you need to add sand. Nothing really too advanced in that regard, I would say.
On the
Really, just keep your compost pile going. I don't take my neighbor up in Pennsylvania, great guy. He takes 20 pickup loads of leaves to the conservation center up there. I don't. I ask him for a couple because I'll put it in my beds, things like that. I have a couple shrubs. I have a palm up there, windmill palm, things like that I'm going to have to put leaves around and protect a little bit. So keep that organic matter. I have a small pile where I'll keep small sticks, things like that'll break down. So again, the organic matter I think is key. And again, as you need to, amend it and test it.
one thing you just said that actually makes me sad. When I moved here a couple of decades ago, we could get a truckload of manure.
Yeah.
We can't anymore. So you have to go and get in bags. Now bags become very expensive, and it becomes sad that manure that I should be able to use that I cannot.
Yeah. Is the stable still open, or Watchung Stable? We used to go up and get it by the truckload because we would cover a lot of the field perennials with a light coating manure to protect them.
I think what I was told that you can still go and get it. I don't have a truck or anything that I can go and do it.
Right.
So
understandable.
So it's always easier that if somebody, even you have to pay a bit to get it and then keep on using.
Well, one thing with buying it in the store too, it is either dehydrated or compost down. You have to be careful. If you do get fresh manure, it should sit. You may not want to put it right on your vegetables, things like that. You want it to let it cook down a little bit. So one advantage to getting it from the store is preferably dehydrated. It has a little bit more nutrient value, or at least composted down.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching.
I thank you for having me.
Oh, we always want, do remember, put it in the comments that you want to see Bob more, because it took me a whole year to convince him to come over. So we learned a lot from Bob. I hope whatever we talked about today from Bob's experience, you would be able to implement these things in your own gardens. Keep on watching, my friend Bob. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like.
Thank you all.
Bye.